Hello everyone and welcome to DC Central. In today's video we're going to be breaking down and reviewing The Flash, Season 5, Episode 11, otherwise entitled Seeing Red. And if you haven't seen the episode, make sure you have, because this review will be filled with spoilers. You can come back later, we'll still be here for you. Honestly, I didn't know how to feel going into this episode. I kind of felt like there was just a really bad stink around it going in, and I don't even know why that was, but I felt the promo was really weak, and I think the promo images didn't really give us too much to go off of, and I just felt the overall premise for this episode was going to be a bit of a dud. And overall, after watching this episode and taking a few days to really sink into it and take it in, obviously this review is coming quite a bit later than what it was originally, it's quite interesting to look at this episode, as I feel like this could be one of the worst episodes The Flash has done in quite some time, and definitely the weakest of Season 5 thus far. I'll start off with a positive though. For one, I think Sherlock and Nora, like the whole storyline of Sherlock investigating Nora, going after her, you know, knowing that something is up with her and investigating her, I'm really liking the storyline. I mean, Sherlock as a character, you know, as our new Wells for this season, was one that took me a little while to adjust to. I didn't like him that much at first, but he has grown on me, and I particularly like him in this episode and this particular story for him. I like the fact that he's not like HR, where he's kind of just knocking around and is just kind of there. He does have his own story, which is investigating Nora, and I like this story, I like this, and also I feel like there's not enough of this. Like, we only have like one scene an episode for this, and I think that's really annoying, considering how interesting it is. The fact that he is really on her case, and is the only one really who is suspicious of her, and knows that there's something going on. And as the audience, obviously we know what's going on with Nora, kind of, so we kind of know that Sherlock's right and everybody else is wrong. So it's interesting. I like this storyline. I do like where they're going with this, and the fact that he's obviously uncovering the handwriting, the Speed Force language, he's starting to understand what that is and what it actually means and how it, you know, transcribes into English, and he even sees that there's a second person involved in this because there's another form of handwriting. And I think that's really fun, because obviously we're going to see at some point that probably the handwriting between him and this other person is going to be very similar, and this is where they're going to realize that, oh, maybe there's another Wells involved here, i.e. Eobard Thawne, you know, Reverse Flash in the future, even though the whole Reverse Flash being Eobard Thawne thing doesn't work, or being, you know, the Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne, Wellsabard being Harrison Wells doesn't work. You know, I feel like they're going to have to tie that in some way by saying there's some similarities in the writing between Wellsabard and also Sherlock Wells. So I do like this story, and I feel like they should just give us more of this, because for me, it's some of the most interesting stuff. So the main sort of bulk storyline going on here is Cicada is going on a metahuman killing spree. He's basically going around Central City, hunting down all the metahumans he can find and murdering them in cold blood. And we see Barry and Nora investigating this, and this then leads to them just basically trying to track him down, trying to find him, and they eventually end up in a situation where all of Team Flash come out to face Cicada. We have Barry, we have Ralph, we have Caitlin, and Nora. They all come out to face Cicada, and in this big battle we actually have Nora get severely damaged by Cicada by having her have her back essentially broken, and also basically made paralyzed by Cicada. And this leads to what is, in my opinion, one of the worst handled things in this episode, which is Barry's rage. Obviously, this episode is called Seeing Red, and also that is a complete insult to the Arrow Season 2 Episode 20 episode. Can we just, you know, say that off the black? That is a much better episode than this, and the fact you give it the same title is disgusting, Flash writers. But anyway, I really like the fact that this episode just completely disregards it, because, you know, Barry's rage is so underdeveloped and so uncooked in a way that it just comes across as incredibly random. Barry is just so angry at Cicada in this episode for what he did to Nora. Understandably so. You know, I'm not saying he shouldn't feel that way. Obviously, it's his daughter. I'm not saying that Barry shouldn't feel this way, but they act in this episode as if Barry is on a death path to kill Cicada. Like, in this episode, he's going to kill Cicada. And it's just so unbelievable, because Barry has never killed anyone before. He cannot even kill Eobard Thawne. Like, he's had so many opportunities in the past to kill Eobard Thawne, and he hasn't done it. And it's so ridiculous to me that the fact that the episode was like basically setting up this whole moral dilemma of, oh, will Barry kill Cicada, will he won't? Not only because we know Cicada lives on past this episode, but also because, again, it's so unestablished. If this was on Arrow and this was Oliver Queen, that would actually be a genuinely moral dilemma. Like, if one of the villains on Arrow did something to William, I would genuinely believe that Oliver would kill that person. I would genuinely believe that, because we've seen Oliver be a killer, and we've seen Oliver kill people when necessary. Barry has never killed anyone. the only time he's ever come close was Savitar, and that was a time remnant, so that wasn't even really technically a physical born person. So I kind of could see why he would want to kill Cicada, and also, or sorry, why he'd want to kill Savitar, because also Savitar is technically himself. But with Cicada, this is another born, living, breathing human being, and we've never seen Barry kill another living human being before, so it just doesn't work and isn't rationalized at all. Also, I'm sorry, I'm so sick of Cicada at this point. I really wish in the mid-season finale they would have just got rid of Cicada and just focused on the whole Reverse Flash thing, because this is really getting ridiculous now. The reason why everyone's hating on this episode is that at the very end, when we have this battle between Barry and Cicada and also Killer Frost, there's a perfect opportunity where they've essentially knocked down Cicada and have the ability to capture him and put him back in Star Labs and finally end him. But Nora decides to show up, you know, after she has healed, and she just shows up at the battle and says, "Hey Dad, don't kill him." And then Barry just gets all distracted and just leaves Cicada there, just leaves him, and then Cicada escapes. This is ridiculous. Like, I'm so sick and tired of this. They've had so many different opportunities throughout the episodes of this season to capture Cicada and get rid of him, but instead, there's always some incredibly, and I mean incredibly lazy excuse as to how Cicada gets away. Also, he just flies off, which again, I've said this before, still not been explained how he can just fly. He just can, apparently. So anyway, he flies off, and Cicada has escaped and is out in the wild again. Why do we keep doing this? I mean, I understand why they're doing it, because obviously we need to stretch out this season to 22 episodes, and obviously we can't just kill off the big bad halfway through the season, even though it makes perfect sense. And again, I don't necessarily blame the writers for this, because obviously the Flash being 22 episodes, 23 episodes is a CW thing, and the writers have to play to that, and I completely understand that. But it's just annoying the fact that the CW are not watching their own show and it being like, this is incredibly just, you know, it comes across as poor writing because that's what the writers are being forced to do. And it's just so obvious that they are trying to stretch out this character for the whole season when it's not necessary, especially when they have the Reverse Flash that they could play off of, you know. And I still believe that Reverse Flash is going to come in the back half, but it's just crazy to me that they keep doing this and they keep extending Cicada's story for particularly no reason, and it's just really frustrating to me, especially when I don't really feel Cicada has been a strong villain. I've liked him in parts. I liked him earlier on, but as the season's just gone on, like I say, he's just not really going anywhere. So it's just kind of like we're doing the same thing every single episode, kind of like how I felt with Savitar in season 3. Like, we're just going back and forth with the same thing every single episode, and not much is actually happening. So I didn't really enjoy Cicada in the past few episodes because of this. I feel like Cicada's time is gone, and we can just get rid of him now because he's really run his course. Now, one other thing I'd like to mention, I would like to end this review on a positive, is the whole story with Caitlin and Killer Frost. I'm really liking this. I'm really liking what they're doing with Caitlin and Killer Frost, because they're finally giving Caitlin something to do. I mean, it's really nice to actually see her get screen time. It's really nice to see her get meaningful dialogue. It's great to see her and Killer Frost working together, working, you know, simultaneously with each other. I'm really enjoying seeing that, because it's something that actually works and something that is actually believable, and I enjoy all that. And again, I think Danielle Panabaker is tremendous. I think she's really doing a good job with all this stuff. And the fact that she's so heavily tied to this Metahuman Cure, the fact that she's essentially playing two characters here who are both on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to the Metahuman Cure, is a fun little dynamic, because we have Caitlin, who is very much for, well, not for necessarily, but, you know, is fine doing this cure, and Killer Frost is really scared about the cure because she's afraid that Caitlin will get rid of her. So, you know, I really like that. And again, bringing in Ralph into that, I think Ralph, you know, having these interactions with Killer Frost, saying, you know, when you were gone, all Caitlin spoke about was you. All she was talking about was wanting you back and how you were a part of her that was missing and things like that. Ralph, again, great in this episode. I'm really loving Ralph this season. I think that, you know, all the stuff with Caitlin and Killer Frost, they just need to keep doing this because she's great. And, you know, even though I don't like Cicada, I really like the fact that, you know, she is kind of like the key to stopping Cicada because she's not affected by him. So that's really cool as well. So all the stuff with Caitlin and Killer Frost gets a big thumbs up from me. Overall, I thought Seeing Red was easily the weakest episode of The Flash this season. This episode literally was just a whole load of nothing. Like, there was just nothing really in it that mattered. It was just, again, the show spinning its wheels. It was something that they just had to do to put in, like, it was a very filler episode. It was something they just had to put in there to keep Cicada around, to keep him going, to keep him, you know, in that sort of way. And I feel like that's something they're going to do, you know, quite a few more times while Cicada is still around. So it's very frustrating that they have to do this. But again, I blame the CW more than the writers in this case, because they just have to, you know, they really need to shorten these shows down. As much as I, you know, adore these shows, as much as I love them, you know, it's so obvious at this point that they just shouldn't be as long as they are. They need to come down, like, if they put them down to, like, where Legends is at, you know, sort of 16, 17 episodes, I think that would work a lot better. Even though that's still quite long, I still feel like that's better than, you know, 22, 23 episodes. So they definitely need to nail all this down. And if we do that, I think we'll have a lot more of a tighter and concise and less filler season than what we've had recently, especially with this season on The Flash, constantly doing stuff with Cicada. Like, what has happened to The Flash? Like, The Flash used to be, like, easily the best show in the CW. It was just, you know, always so fresh and fun. This episode was boring, honestly. This episode was really boring, and I think that is a really weak sign for this show, because like I say, The Flash always used to be the most fun and the most interesting and the most, you know, most excitable one, whereas now, you know, I'm a lot more interested in the other shows. Like, I'm a lot more interested in Arrow, I'm a lot more interested in Legends than I am in The Flash, and I think that's a real, you know, I think that's really telling to what the show has fallen to. And we all thought this season was going to be the revival of the show, but I guess not. But, you know, we're only halfway through the season, so, you know, let's not jump to conclusions just yet. It could fix itself in the back half, let's just see. Because I think the season started off really strong, I will say that. I think, you know, the first sort of 5 episodes were really good. And then there have been a couple other good ones here and there. But I think, like, the season has just started to slow down a little bit, and it needs to pick up again. So hopefully it can do that. And also, just another piece of advice as well for The Flash. I think for Season 6, we need a new showrunner. And I'm not just saying that, you know, I like Todd Helbing, but I feel like there's just been so many of the same ideas being repeated again and again and again with The Flash, especially in the past 3 years or so. We really need, like, a fresh pair of eyes on this and a fresh idea, because, you know, look at Arrow this season. Like, Arrow with Beth Schwartz, bringing her in. Arrow has been so fresh and so different this season for its 7th season. I feel like The Flash needs the same thing. So, you know, if any execs at the CW, if you're listening to this and you want my advice, get a new showrunner for Season 6. I think we need one just to get a fresh idea. And also, to give you another comparison, The Walking Dead. You know, The Walking Dead was a show I stopped watching in Season 8. I didn't like Season 8, and I stopped watching. And I came back for Season 9 purely because of Andrew Lincoln. You know, it was his final season. But Season 9, with the new showrunner, Angela Kang, has been so good. And I'm loving The Walking Dead again. So I think it just shows that, you know, a new showrunner can really do wonders for a show. And I feel like that's what The Flash needs. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I apologize for the little ramble at the end there. I just had a lot of thoughts on this episode. Just, you know, like I say, a lot of thoughts. So anyway, I apologize for all that. But thank you guys for listening. And if you enjoy this video, if you want to see more DC content, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. And I hope to see you guys again next time.